Welcome back to the channel. This is the Earth Science Classroom. This video is on energy, and we're going to answer the question, how old are fossil fuels? This is the Earth Science Classroom. Welcome back to the channel. The term fossil fuels is a well-known, common, globally used phrase to describe non-renewable energy sources that we burn to produce energy to sustain our modern world. And currently, about 80% of the energy produced comes from non-renewable or fossil fuel materials. Now, the word fossil actually comes from the Latin meaning to dig from the ground, to obtain from digging, and this was first commonly used in the mid-1700s, and it refers to chemically altering organic matter. Now, in recent history, in the modern context of the word, it's referring to the non-renewable energy sources such as coal, oil, and natural gas. So the question is, this is a well-known phrase that most people know and know what it's referring to. However, this video is going to answer the question, how old are fossil fuels? And to do that, we must take a tour of geologic time and lay out exactly what we mean by the term fossil in regards to how old this material is that we burn to produce energy. What you're seeing here is a table of geologic time, a section of the Earth's history. Now, Earth's history dates from present day back to 4.56 billion years. Now, here we have just a small part, around 500 million years, which is called an eon. It's the largest division of time where we find things that happened on the Earth, either natural, physical, or in terms of life, biological, which can separate the Earth's history into different sections. So eons are the largest sections or slices of time that we use for geologic time. This one's called the Phanerozoic eon. Phanero in Greek means visible, and zoic in Greek means life. So looking at the time in Earth's history after the Cambrian explosion, where you had an abundance of new species and new life on this planet, both in the oceans and on land, that is now visible, and we can see the emergence and demise of different species at different times. This includes fossil fuels because this is the time or the eon in which fossil fuels were formed. An era is a smaller division of an eon, and in this case we have three eras which make up the Phanerozoic eon: the Paleozoic, the Mesozoic, and the Cenozoic. These three eras are then divided further into periods, which is a smaller amount of time based on what happened on the Earth at that time, and the Paleozoic is split into the Devonian, which is the oldest, the Carboniferous, which is the middle, which is also broken into two smaller subsections, the Pennsylvanian and Mississippian, which is usually used in the United States only. Then we have the Permian. Then the Mesozoic is Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous. Those are famous because of the age of dinosaurs. Then we have the Cenozoic, split into the Paleogene and the Neogene, and it's also called the Tertiary. Now, this spans a very large amount of time and ends around 2.5 million years ago. Now, fossil fuels were formed during this eon, and coal beds were formed from coal forests, which were around 300 to 200 million years ago. So during the late Devonian, which means the most recent part of the Devonian, the late Devonian through the Carboniferous into the early Permian. These are the main geologic periods where we find the formation of coal beds that we are using today. Now, this comes from the tropical, swampy forest environments producing an abundance of organic matter from vegetation to finally form coal. But it takes a long time, over millions of years, to make anthracite and bituminous. So this started around the late Devonian into the Carboniferous. Now, this coincides with the formation of Pangaea, the last and most recent supercontinent, where we had the joining of all major continents into a single landmass. We had Laurasia join Gondwanaland, and we had this large, immense, centered around the equatorial regions, landmass where you saw the growth and development of these large, immense coal forests over the course of millions of years. Then we're looking at oil and natural gas, so petroleum. Now, the majority of the oil and gas fields around the planet date back to the earliest is the Carboniferous and some Permian. So about 5% of the oil and gas fields are Carboniferous, 6% Permian. The majority is in the Mesozoic, with the Jurassic and Cretaceous having 21% and 27%, the Paleogene having 21%, and the Neogene 18%. So oil and natural gas formed in a more recent geologic time than coal, and some as young as 23 million years. However, some research has suggested that some oil fields can date back further than the Cambrian explosion, up to around 600 million years. But the majority of the oil and gas fields researched and evaluated for their age is between the Jurassic and the Paleogene. So between 200 million years up to most recently the late Neogene, which puts it around 2.5 million years ago. However, a lot of the oil and gas fields take longer to form and develop, so this would be a small percentage. But the Neogene does produce oil and gas, and so does the Paleogene, which is much more recent geologically than coal. So how old are fossil fuels? These different types of fuels derived from organic matter date between 350 to 23 million years in Earth's past. So in terms of fossil fuels, we're not looking at the dead skeletons of dinosaurs. We're looking at organic material of vegetation and plants, and in terms of oil and natural gas, looking at microscopic phytoplankton, bacteria, algae, and pollen. These materials take millions, if not hundreds of millions of years to form geologically through natural processes, heat and pressure and burial in the Earth's crust to release the material containing energy derived from mostly the elements of carbon and hydrogen. And therefore, the fossil fuel term comes from the age and the development of these materials to produce energy for our modern society, and the fact that it is non-renewable. So we can't just suddenly grow and develop and form coal forests and oil and gas fields overnight. This takes millions and millions of years. In terms of fossil fuels, these are non-renewable based on how long these organic substances take to form. This is the Earth Science Classroom. Thank you for watching the video. I really appreciate it. And if you get a chance to like and subscribe, that stuff really helps the channel. Thank you so much. And see you again in a future video.